live?
Yes, yes, we're going live. Yeah.
So just say when.
There we go. We are live. We are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
And welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Syl.
Yeah.
Hello and good morning. Good morning to everyone who is going to watch us live today and will watch us recorded later. Good morning and more welcome to Moreness. Welcome to new paradigm. It's a big deal.
Yes.
So while we are, I was not available yesterday. I was missing that really, really badly. I was like, I really enjoyed doing these lives with Syl. It's a big opportunity for me to have so much value out of it every single time. It's a big deal. It's a big, big, huge deal in my life. And I never take it for granted. Always, always. And I was like last 2 days were like, okay, Cheryl was here, and then of course Cheryl was here, and they bring so much to my awareness single time when they share. It brings so much to the like so much clarity, and that is something very important. Why? Why it is important? It's not like that okay, you are just learning and learning and learning. Mostly when I share with people and I share my gratitude, my appreciation for learning, the first immediate idea in people's mind is that, oh, it's all about it. She's just trying to learn more and more and more. Actually not true, because that it's a false assumption that if you are learning, you are not living. You're not living your life. And
So
I
repeat
don't
that
know
again,
from
please.
where we
Repeat
get
that
this
again,
messed up
please.
idea. Yes, it's a false assumption that when we are learning, we are not living. It's a false assumption. And I don't know from where we get this messed up idea that learning and living are two different things, or they are separate, or they are not connected. For us, learning and living is right here in this moment together. When I'm learning something, this is what I'm living also. And I don't need a separate time for practicing. It's not like I'm just in an ashram or in a school, or I'm just learning and learning, and I'm somewhere in the future I'm going to practice all those things. No, this is what I am doing. This is what I'm being right now. So the idea we need to have more clarity about learning, that it is not in isolation. Learning is life. What else? And this is something I was surprised by, and this is a common thing. Whenever you talk to someone and when you share your love for learning, they assume that it's all bookish kind of a thing. Oh yes, you are just spending your time into this. Oh, where we got this idea?
So our idea of, well, we get it from BMNs who don't like learning and who refuse to learn and never learn because they were so consumed in their own idea of self-importance. I don't need to learn. And so they never learned. And then when they realized that they haven't learned, then learning became difficult and an issue and a problem because they had to acknowledge ignorance. So they make out that learning is to justify their own nonsense.
Also, that I think that the conventional school system we have, so it's like you have to wait for 10 years to pass actually out, and then you will do something, and then of course you will upgrade, and then you will learn more for 2 years, and then more for 4 years, and then you will start doing something. That's a messed up idea, really, because all this needs to be relevant and pertinent to right now what I need. And I'm going to share something. Okay, yes, because I'm sharing it's a religious code, but I'm sharing this because this is what I have. This is what mostly I have learned. So it's not because of any religious significance.
No, it's just because it's pertinent and relevant. Because it's pertinent and relevant.
Exactly, and for the value. So one of the biggest figure in Islamic history was Imam Ali, Karmallah, and he says that teach your children what is pertinent and relevant to their age, not yours.
Yes, right
And
out
that,
of Way-of-Impeccability. I was not aware
exactly.
of him, but that's right out of
Yes.
Way-of-Impeccability.
Yes. And then he says that you don't need to teach and try to teach them things which what you have learned. It's outdated now. And the idea of the brought up of the children in Islamic actual ideology is that a child who was like, okay, we call them children or child, like the age of 14 and 15, they needs to be a leader of the family. They should be able to make decision because they are in this time now. So that's why it was so important for the parents to give pertinence and relevance in their brought up, not try to teach them what they were doing. Like my grandparents were walking for miles like all others when the cars were not here. So do I need to really
Yeah,
practice that? No, we are living in the age of course, airplanes and now spaceships and other things. So do I really have to practice all these things? No. My currency
exactly.
is time, energy, and I need to be
My
very efficient about
currency is time and energy.
yes, and we have to be very scrupulous about that.
Profound statement, and I think I'm going to add that to my quote pile. That's a very, very powerful quote.
So we,
My
we got this
currency.
idea of conventional schooling system that getting education is different, and then we will go like after 12 years or 14 years of education, then I'll be able to do something, which is of course in the meantime I will definitely get outdated. This is what happened mostly with people when they get out of like having the master's degree in some subject and they realize that the market has changed now already. In just 2 years the market has already changed and they don't have anything to do actually, and it was all irrelevant non-practical things. This is not way of impeccability is just right now when I am learning. Right now I'm learning, but I'm also living and I'm also being, and this is what the real essence of this knowledge and information and ideology and awareness, that living, doing, being, learning, it's all just different dimensions of the same coin. That's it. So that was my today's thought. So let's get back to reading.
Actually, we're going to be doing listening. I just want to put that quote in there.
Yes.
As a marvelous quote. Okay. Can you see it there, Beena?
No, you're not sharing screen.
Oh, no, just read it in comments. I typed it in comments.
Oh, okay. I'm going there.
Yeah. And I hope well, I do feel I wrote it exactly to capture the way it was expressed.
Yes.
To read it.
Oh, that is BB. Oh, wow. Wow, I love that. Oh, I love that. Okay, while you are doing that something, okay, other than this, I will continue with my thought today. When I was coming to this live, of course, me and Syl, we were discussing, and that was completely different. The topic was completely different to what I was sharing, and I shared with you, um, because that was not my thought of the day. Syl shared so many things, and we were discussing things like how we feel, at least I, because still actually never feel that, but I was feeling a very subtle pride, but also very dominant joy whenever I was able to outsmart my teachers, really. And that was fun because they project the teachers in my schooling time, they were projecting themselves that they are the ultimate authority on the subject, not only on the subject, but they are the ultimate authority on everything. Whatever is happening in that time, during this time, they are the wholesale authority. And as a child, whenever you can, It is amazing. It's an amazing feeling to really outsmart them by
Yeah,
doing any
yeah.
sort of trick or things, or just responding in a way to surprise them, because naturally people don't want to be dominated by anyone. They don't
Correct,
want to be
correct,
controlled by
correct,
anyone.
correct, correct,
And especially
correct.
when people project some as themselves as a whole soul authority, like whatever they are saying is right, they know everything. And then that is something I was feeling like, really, when Syl shared that story, I was like, really, I feel that childhood
I have to share the
joy.
story again now.
Oh yes, please, because I was like,
Uh,
really, yes, yes, Syl,
uh,
yes, because I
so,
was feeling that
so,
joy.
so the story will now, if you're paying attention, you'll be able to do some calculations from it. But nonetheless, so I was in first grade in 1969. And 1969 was a very significant year because that was the year that we first landed on the moon, right? It was very significant in that aspect. Now, back in that day, TVs well, where I grew up, TV wasn't available at all. It only became available in 1975 in the country as a whole. It's really fascinating. They delayed
Wow.
getting TV. Yeah, it was a very unusual circumstance. They said they're waiting for the technology, and there was a whole technical reason for it, which actually turned out to be a very good reason. But nonetheless, so and no TV. This is very unusual, right? And especially for Americans to think, "Wow, you grew up without TV." Yeah, no, it's unthinkable. Most Americans, you know, from even earlier, starting in the 50s at least already, TV was pretty much in all households, and kids were put in front of the TV, and that's it. And it's very affecting on their psychology. Anyway, so and also I grew up in that town where I was very, very, very conservative. It was just one or two steps away from being Amish. Right? Same mindset, very conservative. And of course, getting into trouble at school was a very significant and a very real issue. Furthermore, we didn't not only have a TV at home, but there was a radio, but as kids, we weren't allowed access to it. Why, I do not know. And I really, the only times I can remember a radio playing was was when my father wanted to listen to some sports, which I thought was rather interesting. Um, uh, like a rugby match, an international rugby match that was being played in New Zealand, and it was the time zone, and we listened like in the middle of the night. And he wasn't really into sports and stuff. He just listened to it. I guess it was like a thing, and it was a big deal, and he wanted to be, know what's going on. Anyway, I'm making a long story out of it. So there wasn't this radio, but of course, I was aware of the space program. That was a big deal at the time, right? That time, even before 69, the build up to it, even out there in, where we lived, which was pretty remote, it still came there. Anyway, so on this one particular day in 1969, I was late for school. Now, this was very unusual. In that school, I was there for 3 years before we moved. I cannot specifically remember being late. I have a vague memory of being late maybe one or two other times, but I don't specifically remember it. At any rate, this particular day, I turn up late for school. However, and I'm not just a few minutes late. I'm like it's probably a quarter of the way into the first period already, and there's nobody around. Like when you come just a little bit late, there's always a couple of stragglers, and you sort of the last one in. All right, you can kind of skate by. If you're a minute or two or three late. But no, this is past that time already. So when I get to school, it's completely deserted. Now, my normal path to class would take me within view of the principal's office. Not close to it, but, where if he's looking up, you'll see a child. And of course, if you're the only child in the others, you're going to be noticed. So I said, no, I gotta take a different path to class. I don't want to be noticed by the principal. Then I might just be hauled in there and get the caning for being late. That's the kind of school it was, right? Doesn't matter why you
Yes.
were late sometimes. So So Mr. Brainwave here says, "Oh, okay, I've got a different plan." And so I go, instead of going the shortest route, which would take me sort of in the middle of the whole school ground complex and past within view of the office, not close, but within view. I take a detour and I go past the back of the assembly hall. And the assembly hall was on its own. It stood as a single building, not connected to anything else. Most schools, the assembly hall is kind of built into the school. Anyway, this one, it was on its own. It's that old British idea of a gymnasium, that has the right. Anyway, so I go and to the right. It's like on the right hand corner of the whole school property, front right, and I go past the back of it. Yes. Now, and I was telling Beena, and Beena, when she was at school, it was the same for her. The back of places like this, especially the assembly hall, that you were absolutely not allowed there. Or like if there was a cafeteria or something, which we didn't have, but that type of place, you were not allowed at all. And so they were very like secretive places, almost very private places. But so I'm not going where I'm going in there, but I'm going past the back door to the assembly hall, which I'd never ever seen before, believe it or not. Right? Even though you can walk by there, not a problem, but I've never seen it. And at that exact moment, as I came by, there's somebody listening to a radio. I would assume a janitor, or maybe it was the gym teacher. I don't know. I have no idea who. But this radio sound is just coming out of this building. It's like in the movies. Radio has a very particular sound in the movies. Yeah, there's a different kind of a quality to it. But when you're listening to it live, it doesn't quite have that same sound as when you're listening to it, in a movie or a recording. But this had that magical sound to it. It was really most amazing. It was like it was this little voice coming from the building. Anyway, at that exact moment that I passed, that was the exact moment that Neil Armstrong was landing on the moon. Yeah? So I stopped and listened. I realized what it was. And so I heard the moon landing live, all because of this peculiarity of timing and my decision to go back past the wall line. Yes, just a magical thing. And I was entranced, because of course it's a big deal, and the way that broadcast, even if you listen to it today, you can hear the energy of that, the recording, and then they have him saying it live, the one step for man and all this. It was just a huge deal. And then what I was saying, whoever's calling me, you have to wait. I can't take your call right now. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Dang it. Can you hear that sound, Peter?
Yes, I can hear that. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, there it goes. All right. Anyhow, so this was really magical. But now I'm like very, very late. Yes. And it's coming towards near the end of the first period already. The brainwave. I said, well, I'm not going to go to the first class. I'm going to go to the second class and just join the lines, because you walk in lines between class A and class B, which sometimes you have the same teacher twice in a row, but typically the classes, they mix it up, right? So I said, I won't go directly, but there was still time, I'll just kind of hang around here for a little bit longer and wait until because they always announce it with a bell, right? And then I'll just go and join the line that's walking from class A to class B, and teacher A won't know that I wasn't there because she's not noticed, she's not seeing me come late, and she might just not realize I wasn't there. And teacher B isn't going to know that I was late at all. And that way I did it. It worked very successfully, and that's what Beena was talking about. Finding a clever way to be smarter than the teachers.
Yes.
I had lots of them. I mean, my plan was two of them in that day. The plan to avoid being seen by the principal and joining the line. But the magic of it, of course, was being in that exact time and place at that moment. It wasn't something that was otherwise easily available to me. And again, if just the nature of the town. Nobody thought to have this, like, be broadcast in the school, people to assembly and listen, which they could have done in first period. Just didn't have this thought to connect kids to moreness like that. Anyway, so I'm very pleased I did experience that, because also, the implications of it is that there's other worlds doing something more, a big deal, not the usual, not the conventional. That there's a world out there that has absolutely no connectivity to the world that I'm in. Yeah. Just the world of
Yes.
making a spaceship to go to the moon. It's completely unconnected to the reality of that town. Which, if they weren't cars, uh, it may have been still, in the previous century. I mean, I remember getting telephone. It was it was part of my experience. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that
they
is really.
it was those. Yeah.
You were saying that, okay,
You
it
know,
was in late 70s. Oh, no, sorry, early 70s
like
in South Africa when you get television there.
75. Well, to be really precise, in 1975 we got 2 hours of television per day.
Oh.
Two, and
And
it
in
was like
Pakistan, it
test.
was 1964.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that amazing? So
Is
South
that
Africa
really?
waited. It's incredible.
Yes.
It's incredible. And not only that, Beena, it was 2 hours until 1977 when they expanded it
Wow.
to, I think it started as 4 hours and then it went maybe six. And, by the time I graduated, they more or less had TV all day long, right? So even though there was TV, it was so limited that I still had time to do other stuff. I'm still doing all my reading and all that. I think in 1977, actually, that was the year I read 2 books a day. So it didn't matter. It didn't affect my internal world. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think that, if there was a place to choose, if you look in history now, right, the 60s
Hmm.
and the 70s, they are a very magical time to grow up in. However, in places like America or Britain, because of TV, you have an inundation of a culture that you don't necessarily want. You want the exposure. So that delay of the TV is a very great benefit. Yeah. So I know me choosing that, if you think of it that way, if I had deliberately chosen it, it would have been a very good choice of when to grow up, when to be born.
I
Anyway,
experienced the
different
private
conversation.
channels. I experienced the private
Oh,
channels coming to, and
oh
it
dear.
was like,
Oh dear.
yes, and
Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on,
and
hang on. When you say that, you need to qualify, because for most people in America, a private channel means X-rated stuff. I don't think
oh
that's what
no,
you mean.
it was no, no.
Yeah.
Before that, before that, we had only national television, and in
Oh,
2000,
right,
they
right,
started private TV channels. So like private
right,
companies were coming, they
right,
were opening
right,
their own
right,
channels,
right, right.
and the test transmission were available for 24 hours. Before that, it was like
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
deal for me because they played all the classic movies, black and white movies of Alfred Hitchcock, Lucy,
Ah,
Julia,
interesting.
Murder She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher, and I saw like
Wow.
tons and tons of movies there, and I was like really into, and all the black and white, of course, the classic
Yeah.
cinema, weekend specials, and Saturday night, and but all the classics, all the black and white. So I watch all the
Wow.
movies, even though I don't remember all, but and then of
Yeah.
course the series like Sledgehammer, a monkey with a golden tail, something like that,
Yeah.
and a lot of other things. Like I watched the
Mike,
Six
Mike,
Million Dollar
Mike Hammer, Mike Hammer, Mike Hammer.
Man. Ah,
A
okay,
detective?
and
You said Sledgehammer, but you mean Mike
yes,
Hammer?
Sledgehammer was also, I guess, I maybe I'm not.
Oh, maybe something different. Oh, okay. I thought
Yes,
this. Oh,
yes,
maybe something different. My
and
Mike
and
Hammer was a detective.
and the Twin Peaks, and
Yeah,
and
Twin Peaks. Yeah, I remember all these.
yes. So, but I watched the $6 Million Man and a Bionic Woman,
Yes,
and
yes, Steve
and
Austin. Yeah,
and also with that was the old movies, but I was watching all those things, and and I don't know I don't remember the name of that helicopter movies. Like that was like really big deal for us. And I I watched all sort of things, from the court movie series to the detective series, and a lot. I don't even remember, but that was training my brain for all these things. It was a different culture and different
Exactly.
things, and
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
acceptance
Exactly.
that actually
Yeah.
that watching of those movies or series actually create the space for the acceptance of different culture and difference, and it's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
I
Oh
am
yeah.
more open and than my all cousins and friends for a different culture. Now they are, of course, because of the internet. Now we all have everything open, uh, but before that, it was not like that. Everything was alien. Everything was alien and different. So people had very different or limited tolerance and acceptance, especially acceptance for differences.
Yeah.
Like, okay, people wearing different clothing, and like, oh yes, but no, it's not Pakistani culture. So everything which is not Pakistani culture is evil, is bad, is inappropriate. Like seriously. So, but for me and my siblings, that was all natural because we were actually living with those characters and like, oh yes, okay, yes. So like, exposure and awareness also create acceptance, and it create moreness and a space for each other. This is a big deal. This is the positive side of uh, having opportunity and exposure to moreness and awareness.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes. And
but
also,
I really.
uh, oh, I just want to say, for me, that timing, at the time, I was aware of the miraculousness of my luck, as it were. Yeah,
You were
of that,
aware of
and that
it.
I was aware that I was lucky to for that timing. I was like,
Ah,
wow,
which
this was
you were
awesome.
aware of
And
the profoundness of this big deal that landing
correct,
on moon is
I
a big
was
deal.
aware that it was a big deal. That I, and in my mind then, that I thought of it as me getting lucky because of my actions, and I realized taking that route made me lucky there. But
Hmm.
now I would say I would call it timing of, but in the conception of then it was capital L luck in my mind. Yeah, I was aware of it. I was aware of it.
Wow.
This led me, with Beena was talking about teachers and um, uh, just, how they were like, well, most of them had superiority paradigm, and I had some very nasty teachers. I mean, like one, um, I did bookbinding. That was the class, bookbinding. Can you believe it? Okay, it's not a class that was an exam class, but bookbinding. Well, he taught bookbinding and hygiene. I don't remember anything from the hygiene class necessarily, but the bookbinding, you just took like cardboard and then you had to kind of stitch it with string, and they taught you how to make a book. Hmm, Like, it's just absurdity. Anyway, um, but he was a very nasty teacher. And when he didn't get it right, he would pinch you in your side, right there between your ribs and your hip bone, right?
Oh,
And he would
wow.
pinch and twist, and it's like really painful. And you stand, like, and on the subject that matters not. It's just basically sadistic. Anyway, so
I had that experience in my childhood because I don't know from where Mama get this idea that I need to be schooled, I need to be disciplined, and for her I was not disciplined. So I had this horrible tutor, and me and Farooq both. Okay, Farooq, even though he was senior, of course, 4.5 years older than me, but still, we always had the same tutor, and uh, and that was a really horrible man. The problem was that he was a Punjabi speaking teacher, and he had a different accent and different dialect. And we belong to a Urdu speaking family, so for Urdu we had a completely different dialect and of course accent and all that. So he was asking me to read a chapter. That this is I as far as I remember, this is how it all started. And so it was a specific word in Urdu which says that, okay, we ate that thing, we were eating that, and it gives us so much joy and pleasure. The word for that in Urdu was lutf. It's a specific pronunciation for that. Lutf. Like you don't emphasize on T in it. Lutf. So you don't emphasize. It's like lutf. But he was not able to pronounce it. And he was saying lutaf, like Lutaf. So when I
Wow.
said, yes, when I said lut, and he says in response to lutaf, and I said, no, it's lut. And he says, it's lutaf. And that was something no one was able to ever. If something is wrong, Beena will say it is wrong. That is where the big mouth thing actually came up. And I say, no, it's Lutf. And then Farooq also joins me and he says, yes, Lutf. And then he started punishing, really horrible caning and all that. And Mama never actually understand that he was just making it an ego stuff and just beating us for
Yeah.
that. But he said to Mama that, oh no, they were not reciting good things and they were not remembering, memorizing, and all sort of stuff. And Mama was forcing us more to do that. And I was in revenge. I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. See how much he's going to do that. Okay, let's. And Farooq was like, he's a horrible person. He's going to do that even more. That okay, whatever. But I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say sorry for that. That this is how my mindset was at that time. And Mama was not understanding. But for me, accepting that if something is wrong, the lack of appropriateness in me was horrible still. I could save myself just by saying, okay, whatever. But I didn't do that.
Well,
I,
strategic appropriateness. What you did was appropriate
exactly.
in a monist paradigm, but strategic appropriateness in the superiority paradigm, no.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then of course it continues. Of course, he never liked me, of course, and then he was making all sort of excuses and all that. But at some point, Mama was like, also as a motherly nature, she also feels that okay, it is going too much for my child now. So then she gave up on that. But she was so convinced that okay, we made uh, the tutor's life horrible by not uh, following his instructions. But actually, no, never. That was just simple thing. Lutf and Lutf. And the problem was not only he was not wrong, it was just a different dialect. He was not able to pronounce it in the Urdu dialect or in the Urdu pronunciation. But that was his problem, not mine. But okay. So I had that. Nobody in my in my home ever hit me like that, but he was like really horrible.
And think about this. Think about this. This is purely an
Yes.
example of the inappropriateness and ineffectualness of superiority paradigm.
Yes.
Where his dishonesty, his ego, and what value was there in it for you in terms of as a teacher? None. Did he achieve? No, he just was pushing it. It's just horrible. It's absolutely
And I think
horrible.
he was aware that he is not able to
Yeah.
pronounce it right. But even that, I think that it's not a problem. Different people can have different accent and different pronunciation for things. It's not a big deal because they have a different dialect and different sounds in their language. So no problem with that. But at that time, if you would say that it is wrong what you are saying and you have to copy me for that, which is not right, then of course, I was very strong-headed when it comes to according to my understanding, right and wrong. No matter what, I'm not going to accept it.
Uh, it's very interesting. Somebody just messaged me. It's totally
Yes,
unrelated. And the
yes.
message is, gosh, when I say such things, I always remember my older, uh, not sure, or mentor or what. He would have said, I am not being appropriate. And he just always wanted attention like a baby.
Wow, wow, wow.
Isn't that something?
Yes,
It's unrelated. It's unrelated, but you
But
know, it's just amazing how things come sometimes. Fascinating. Yeah.
incredible, incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
why are
and that's the
we
whole
not?
point of them, right?
Yes. Why are we not reading today?
Oh, we'll get there because we're chatting and we're having fun and we're discussing more on these topics. Yeah. You know, this is from a participant of Way-of-Impeccability, and
Wow.
you know, she's from a different culture, and a culture in which someone like me, she said something, you know, very, at least in her mind, was she just said going to sleep tired, going to sleep. It should be comma tired. Sorry, we'll catch ya YA next time. And that's what she was saying. Gosh, when I say such things, I remember my older. It's very informal, it's very casual, it's very relaxed. Yes.
Hmm.
And she's realizing that her older teachers or mentors, she couldn't speak that way to them. But of course, when we are, there's no need for this whole superiority and all of this. You know, yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
cultural thing also, religious and cultural both. That teachers really, because awareness was not easy at that time, maybe. The hardship
yeah,
associated with the awareness makes them like really different people, and people just for
yeah.
the appreciation.
Right.
It should be just appreciation, but of course it turns into the respect, and then the respect turns into like really a worship thing.
Correct,
You
correct,
can't say
correct.
anything.
And
You can't even raise your voice. You can't raise your eyes. You
yeah, and it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. It's inappropriate.
because the
Yeah,
superiority paradigm found this very attractive and very, very fertile
exactly,
ground for that. That
exactly.
okay, yes, I can flourish there, I
Yes,
can thrive because
yeah,
they have this appreciation and the respect idea. Uh, and then of course
right,
it corrupts all the things. Now when
correct.
I say okay, as a practice, Muslims do appreciate blessings and things and good things in their life regularly. So when I say, I really say my gratitude towards all the teachers, including all the YouTubers, influencers, who are sharing even
Yeah,
a bit of it.
yes,
Even if a girl, a young girl in Chicago, and then she's making a soup and she's telling me that okay, by just using this one tip, your soup will be like this. She learned this by practicing it, and she's giving me in just 5 seconds. I really feel
yeah,
appreciative for that too. So for me now, my teachers are countless, really countless people. If someone is just telling me that okay, use this pen instead of this, will make your life easier, or organizing your wardrobe, or cleaning your shoes. I'm just telling you, it's the simple things in life. If someone is telling you
yeah,
these type of things and making your life easy, they are wonderful people. I really, really do appreciate them regularly. I do really appreciate them. But
yeah,
the idea and the concept of actually worshiping your teachers, that was really a mess up
yeah,
idea, really massive idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to just say, Norma, hello to Norma. We got all involved
Hello,
here.
Norma.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know we like you to participate. I just didn't see your comments there, Norma. I didn't see your comments there. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, she
please,
made a
please stay
comment.
here, stay here. Yeah, she said, sorry, I'm late. Yeah, she didn't show up on mine either.
No, no, not
So,
mine, Norma. I do
yeah,
refresh that
yeah,
2 3 times
yeah,
because I was kind of like expecting that you would be there. Okay, no
yeah,
expectations, but still I was expecting. So I was like, okay, yes, Norma would be there, but no comment there for me. It's
yeah,
still
yeah.
not. It's still not.
You know, it may be because Beena,
Yes.
Norma may be commenting on my timeline, not in group, because, you know, when the
Oh,
eBay made the changes, So
Oh,
I have to explain this to Norma. She's not there right now, but when she comes back,
oh, okay. Okay, okay, Norma. So,
I
okay.
have
So
to explain
that
this.
okay.
That's why we didn't see it. You see, because eBay made this shift anyway. But before we go there, I just want to say, us talking about our childhoods, we aren't just reminiscing and going over it. We always are sharing about mourners, and there's a moreness to these stories, right? And that's why
Yes.
we share them, not because, well, it's just something interesting that happened, right? My story with listening to that, yes, it's interesting of its own accord, but there's a moreness to it. When we connect via the moreness, which is what we are trained to do via Way-of-Impeccability and the moreness project. You ask, Bryn. Norma's back. Norma's back. All right. Uh,
Okay, good.
we connect to the abstract conceptuality and we bring that up. Norma, we didn't see your comments because Facebook changed things, I don't know, like a week ago. And it used to be that when I share the Zoom, like we come on Zoom and then I share it, I go live on Facebook. I could go live directly into the group, but they changed that. I can't do that anymore. So now I have to go live on my profile. And from there, I share it to the group. And when I shared that link with you, it took me to my profile and Beena was updating the group. And that's why we didn't see your comment. Yeah. Because you were commenting on the profile, which is appropriate, but we need to remember that and look for the comments on the profile and in the group. Yeah. Now, on my restream, it actually does show them either way, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool. So I love it that you're here, Norma. We always love you being here. And even if Beena and I get involved in a conversation,
You can
you
also.
know, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you did a little bit, but we might not get to your comments right away, but we'll get to them later. They matter to us, Norma. They really, really matter to us, and it's important. So it's a big deal. Talking about comments, right?
Yes.
While I'm chatting and listening, uh, I I I I saw something, in my notifications. Somebody commented on a link that I shared, and I clicked on that, and it's from somebody, and they say you have appeared. It's a comment on on the post I just made in group on sharing yesterday's episode or the podcast episode, right? So I just posted this like just a few minutes ago. It was uploading and it goes through, takes a while. So just something that happened just a few minutes ago. But and she commented fairly right away, and she says, "You have appeared on my page many times. Curious if we are connected in some field. Would you mind adding me as a friend?" Now, why she didn't just send me a friend request, I don't know. But okay. So I said, my pleasure. And we are likely connected via mourners. But I think this is very important in two major aspects, right? One, I had no idea that, well, in a remote way, they show up in the timeline. But she said I appeared on her page many times. Yeah. Yeah? Which means, Bina,
Yes.
that we are appearing in on people's pages or on their feeds or on timelines. I mean, she may not be using the word correctly, but where we don't expect to be, right? So she's
Yes.
maybe she's a member of the group. I don't know. I can have a look, you know. Um, but it's just that significance that where you were saying about mourners, and I said we are likely connected via mourners, via the mourners paradigm. Yeah, and when we realize this, it changes things. Yes, it changes things.
Yes.
It's very cool. It's very very cool. Oh, it's not on the one I posted now. It's on the previous one. I thought it
Okay.
was a bit early for it to go through. Doesn't matter. It's still interesting that she connected to this. And also the other thing, that she didn't think to just automatically friend me. I had to friend her. I said, okay, no problem. Yeah. It might be a bloke. Yes. Sometimes they pretend to be women. Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. I looked at her timeline, and she doesn't seem like she's up to something. Well, I just thought this is significant. And you were saying about training your algorithm. That's how we connected.
Yes.
It's likely through the
Yes.
algorithm. See? See?
Yes. Yes.
That's why I thought this was special. This was very
Yes.
special. Yeah.
Okay. Just
I
one more
Norma, stop
thing.
saying you are no good at technical stuff. Change it to say I still need to learn about technical stuff. Yeah,
We
she's not a
all
member of the
need to.
group.
We all need to. We all need to.
Exactly. We
Okay,
all need
because
to,
it's
Norma.
it's
We all need to.
it's updating really rapidly, Norma. So okay, yes,
Exactly.
we all will get really outdated if we don't pay attention to, and that is another
Correct.
reason why I keep continuously emphasizing and trying to share that okay, train
Yeah.
your algorithm,
Yeah.
because it can be really super overwhelming for people if they will not get into the habit of training their algorithm regularly on regular
Yeah.
basis, because this is how
Yeah.
you will grow together. Otherwise people will get behind really quickly, and without being really aware of it, because the algorithm, the AI, the speed and the intensity level of that learning and growing of AI is that people are getting being really categorized. So by showing your
Yeah.
interest, by paying your attention, you are training your algorithm. So if you want to be really at peace and really want to know where what you really want to learn and grow, and of course what you want to watch, please do pay attention to your algorithm, because soon it will be really some many people will just get retired with all these social media platforms, because from all the social media platforms, because it might get really overwhelming for them. So before
Yeah.
it gets like really wild for you, please do pay attention. I'm just continuously
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that by doing that, you are not
Yeah.
only going to help yourself, but you are going to help others also, because AI is going to learn from the data we will provide. It's not going to be
Absolutely.
instinctual or intuitive. No, it
Right.
is going to
Right.
just
Right.
be by the data that we are
Yes.
going to provide.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
clicking
Yeah.
like to what you like, you are
Yeah.
going to add a number into how many
Right.
the number of people actually like
And not
this.
just I, but the pure math of it. It's a simple algorithm. Right? It's just a
Exactly.
calculation of formula. And also,
Exactly.
this applies in your daily life. Your brain has a similar algorithm inside.
Exactly.
Yes, what you emphasize, it says, oh, that's important to you, and it starts feeding you more of what's important to you via you noticing it and becoming aware of it. Your brain has the same algorithm in it already.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And
Absolutely.
and, and life itself works on this algorithm. And don't take my word for it, go out and test it. Yes? It's very important. Yeah?
That was really
So
an
this
aha
is a
moment
big
for me.
deal.
That was really an aha moment
Yeah.
for me when you shared about mostly people get this okay get this in habit, and also they get this idea that okay, as they
Yeah.
are growing, they are losing their memory. Oh, I'm getting forgetful
Yeah.
because of this age and all sort of things. But you were saying that okay, it is not. We don't pay attention, but now we start paying attention. And when you were talking about the algorithm, actually the more we grow and the more we learn, the more data we have, and our mind is very efficient in prioritizing things. So when you have big,
Yeah.
really big, huge amount of data, your mind needs to prioritize things. So things on like okay on regular basis, like your keys and things, you do forget these things because your mind is prioritizing different things. It's not on priority for you anymore because of the huge amount of data. So again, algorithm.
Yeah. Very important.
And
Very important.
When
And
Syl
when we
was saying that
understand
okay,
how
you
this
need to
works,
stay.
you create your. Go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no,
Go
no.
ahead.
No, please continue.
I'm saying we create our reality via feeding the algorithm, not just our
Exactly.
online reality, which is a literal actual algorithm, but our not online, our regular life algorithm.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, there's one point I want to keep going. You were going to say I was saying something.
No, you were saying about when you mentioned about that. Okay, how we make a reality. How we make that
Yeah,
reality by emphasizing, by repetition,
exactly.
and
Very
also
simple.
by not paying attention to what we really want in our
Yeah,
life. This is how we create life, a reality in our life. And this reality that I'm getting forgetful, I'm losing my memory because you are denying, you are not being appreciative, the ability and the skills of your mind. So of course you are going to create the reality because your mind is just really an obedient servant to you. So please do pay attention to what you really want in life. You want moreness, pay
oh
attention
yeah,
to moreness.
oh yeah,
You want good
oh yeah.
things, pay attention to good
Right,
things and the goodness in life.
right, right, right. And pay attention and be discerning. Like right here, right?
Yes.
The post by the confident connection. And it says, life is short, so don't take it too serious. Be ambitious and set goals. Fix problems and find solutions. But don't forget to smile. Life is worth living. So dare to enjoy the journey. Be authentic, be you. And this is all very nice, but subtly inside there is a superiority paradigm message. Be ambitious and set goals. Not aspire to moreness, which is a very different thing to being ambitious. Yes, it's an implication, but it's just taken for granted. The
Yes.
author likely doesn't even realize what they're saying. Yeah, I mean the whole message is nice, but that be ambitious. It's so subtle. It really is impactful because you don't even think twice about it. It's like just a duh. But no, don't be ambitious. Have aspirations, yes, but don't be ambitious necessarily. If you want to, do it as a deliberate thing, not an automatic goal. Not an automatic goal. Yes. There's nothing I want, says Norma, that is the most ideal space to be in. That is the most incredible things. Now, again, see discernment. When people say this, oh, that's terrible. You don't enjoy anything. You don't. I didn't say I don't like anything. I didn't say I didn't enjoy anything. I said I don't want anything. They confuse the two. They assume that you have to have wants in order to enjoy. That's not true. Not true at all. Right, Norma?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We in normal sense, we can't go through life always wanting. We have all. We've got to go through life enjoying and appreciating. When you're always wanting, that by implication means you don't have. So a wanting and ambition is that you are saying it's out there in the future, not now. You have it all now. Enjoy what you are now. If you're wanting anything, you've got it all already. Yeah, yeah. It's just there's so much moreness when we pay attention and when we just start to unhook from what we taught and start to think for ourselves deliberately, consciously. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yes. Yeah. This very, very powerful. All right. What do you want to read, Beena? What do you want to do? The next chapter?
Yes.
All right. Oh. What were we talking about right now?
We're talking about so
As a
many
as a
things.
concept?
So many things about
Overally.
really.
Overally. All right. Okay. Well, that seems to me like we had to be discerning, right, in what I was saying there.
Yes.
With
Yes.
one like, right? I mean, the abstract conception is discernment, is it not?
Yes.
There's an overview, right? There's a big point, right? I mean, all the things we're
Yes.
talking about is to discern what's going on. Right? If like in reading that post that I mentioned there, if you read it without discernment, you're not going to see that and realize that you're inadvertently picking up programming that you don't necessarily want. Yes, that's how we've
Yes.
we've come to say, oh, yes, you've got to be ambitious. From where? Says who? Yeah, well, okay, some people will tell it to you directly, like my mother and my father, they were very big into ambition. But it's subtle. It's just part of the culture, part of the paradigm. But no, it's and again wanting. You've got to want stuff. You got to want stuff in life. That's ambition. Like Norma says, we can't go through life always wanting. You'll never be enjoying. Exactly. All right. So discernment. very powerful thing.
Yes.
We get to our next chapter. Here's the art for the chapter. Yes. And look at the first subheading here.
Oh, this is your background today?
Well, I always try and put my background of the day. I choose it from the chapter that we're going to.
Yes, yes.
Or
But
the first chapter.
it's flipped.
So yeah.
It's like yes.
Yeah. So now look at what the subheading is underneath there, Beena.
Okay, discerning discernment. Wow.
Yeah. I just love when they tie together like that. Just absolutely love when they tie together. And we get to a very interesting topic here. This was a great question asked by me. So if you would read, please, wonderful.
Okay. Discerning discernment. When is it loving someone to just listen to them? And when is it indulging them? Wow. Please help me understand indulging when you meet a person where they are. When you listen, letting them work out their issues. Is that indulging? It seems that indulging is listening after you already made a judgment that the story being told has no value. In that case, indulging is part of the listener and does not reflect the speaker. Please help me understand. Thanks.
Wonderful. I mean, this question is absolutely, D is asking for assistance with discernment. Yes?
Yes.
That's the issue. That's why the first subheading is discerning discernment, to understand what discernment is itself, to discern discernment, right? To really get into what it is. This is, again, see how excited Biella is. This is wonderful. While you read that, yeah, I'm going to have some breakfast. Okay. Not that it is breakfast, I think, what's it now? It's almost lunchtime. All right. Brunch. Brunch.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Dear D, wonderful, most wonderful response and question. It's a very trickiness and complexity of the issue which makes it so important. Also, the overlap and blending, not a clear issue at all. So I'll start with the overview perspective first, as that will give something to hold on to. The endpoint or overall agenda is to take care with our interaction, to be thoughtful, considering, not so sure, careful, and humble. To put us in the space where the obvious is understood to actually not be so obvious. Wow. To put us in the space where the obvious is understood to actually not be so obvious. Thus, the intent of the post is a reminder, a refresher, a caution to shake that certainty which we can develop, which might blind us, to make sure to always be practicing discernment and to do so thoroughly. Now to get detailed, indulging someone else to me is when we facilitate, encourage, activate, encourage, or in any way enable someone to be less. To do that which might be nice but not good.
One moment, Beena.
Yes.
I want to say that point that Biella made, and you paused a little bit there. By implication, like might make sense or not, right? Where Biella said,
yes,
to put us in a space where the obvious is understood to actually not be so obvious.
Yes.
Right? If we get and at first glance you're like, oh, wait a second, Biella, don't you want it? You mean the other way around? Don't you want the not so obvious to become obvious?
Yes.
Biella's being very, very subtle and kind of clever in a way too. Yes. Now, how do you understand that sentence rather than me explaining? Because you paused a second there, and then I think you internally processed it. Oh, okay, right. and you made sense out of it, right? Because you're in this habit already. So how did you make sense of this then?
Hmm.
Or how do you?
I don't know.
Right?
Right now, I just pause on this point here because I was trusting that okay, Biala is going to elaborate this. I was
Oh, I
not
see.
really getting this.
Oh,
Yes.
maybe you will. Maybe you will. I
Yes.
don't think so yet. All right, we'll come back to it later. Like
Yes. Okay.
that, your pause was a pause of trust.
Yes. I read that again because of my own emphasis, and maybe I'm not getting it right. So I just read it
Just
again,
accept
and
it.
then I realized that okay,
Accept
this
it.
is
Or
exactly what she's saying.
wonderful, Beena. That's most wonderful. All right,
Okay,
we'll see.
it
We'll
is
come back to it.
okay.
We'll come back
Okay.
to it, Beena.
Now to get detailed, yes. Now to get detailed, indulging someone else to me is when we facilitate, encourage, activate, encourage, or in any way enable someone to be less, to do that which might be nice but not good. In its core essence, which can also mean it applies to motivations, like if we enable or enhance, facilitate, etc., behavior, which in itself is no problem, but is motivated by lessness, deliberate lessness, like jealousy, spite, self pity, narcissism, and so on. Deliberate lessness, of course, ultimately is a subjective perspective. And here I have chosen very obvious example of deliberate lessness, as my post doesn't need to deal with the hard to define examples, just with the obvious. It's already enough and most useful. When we are engaging in capital H hearing, that deep, full, and complete attention to another, where we make space for them to share unreservedly, be by implication an absence of any criticism, judgment, etc., and by virtue of sheer contrast to what is usually encountered, we can inadvertently imply we are supporting or agreeing, condoning, etc. Whatever is shared, very dangerous and most tricky because the sharing itself is immensely necessary, cathartic, okay. Yes. I need to scroll
Yes,
this.
cathartic. Cathartic. Yes, as in
Yeah.
catharsis, as in a big
Yes.
release.
Yes. You need to scroll this.
Oh, coming. Sorry. Uh, uh, that was very dangerous.
Okay. Cathartic, perspective generating, self-revealing, self-discovering, and so much more. That we don't want to shut all that down, but ignorance of option. And here lies the problem. That, but all depends where the person goes with this space and opportunity. If they stick to being honest, no problem. Well, mostly, but if they begin to use it as an opportunity to self excuse, self promote, self justify, etc., etc., in other words, indulge themselves, then at that point, if we continue to hear them, listen to them, in the same way or silence, our lack of response can be taken as agreement, support, and so on. It's a direct consequence of the mentality of opposites, which says if something is not black, it has to be white. Thus, if I'm not in opposition, then I have to be in agreement. A sad, extremely limited belief system, which of course ignores all the wonderful colors, but yet somewhat prevalent, unfortunately. To give a not so common example, we could be hearing a narcissist. At first, They may be real in their sharing, but as they go along and they realize that they are beginning to expose themselves, they shift and begin self-promoting, justifying, etc. And here, then we come to that problem where our continued hearing of them will just be indulging their narcissism. Narcissists seldom will get into such sharing as they avoid it because of the vulnerability, but makes the point. More's the pity, more common in self-pity. We deeply listen to hear someone and their problems and struggles, and the intent is to make space for clarity and self-perspective and self-discovery. And well, the hundreds of things we do when we capital H here. But all too often, such engagement devolves into self pity as the awful truth surfaces and they realize the problem is really them and they don't want to face this and start finding reasons and
Yeah.
excuses, and the self pity begins. Thus, it's very much a judgment call when out hearing is a service and when it becomes
Our,
a problem.
our
When
hearing.
our hearing is a service and when it becomes a problem. Hard and fast and clear and specific is not going to happen. And thus, that self-opening statement we started with, the absolute essential point is to simply be a way that we can indulge someone if we are not careful when we are hearing them. That awareness alone is enough. And then we simply trust our impeccability and our ability to be appropriate to deal with the situation as it evolves or devolves, as the case may be. We thus fall back on our core tools. The key is the awareness of an otherwise not so clear and obvious possibility, a possibility which is nevertheless very real and detrimental, even devastating, if we remain unaware. Hope that helps. Love the response and questioning. Biella.
Heart. It's a heart.
Yes, art. Okay.
No, no. I feel this can use a little bit of elaborate on 2 points. One, that obvious point, and the other is that uh, the way we can avoid indulging is when someone is being inappropriate, is by not communicating that we are either agreeing or disagreeing, that we are there to understand. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Biella implies it here, but didn't say it specifically.
Hmm.
She said earlier, when you're listening, your lack of agreement can be taken as agreement. Well, because you're not disagreeing, that means you're agreeing. See?
Yes.
And that's how we can inadvertently indulge or cause somebody to assist them in their own indulgence, right? Or condone their indulgence. Give the wrong
Yes.
idea. But when you
Yes.
make it clear, I want to understand. Agree and disagree is not my issue here. I'm looking to understand. I don't even connect to agree and disagree, right? Now they know you're looking to understand. This is your intent. And that means, well, do they agree or do they disagree? I don't know. So they cannot now take whatever they're doing as me condoning their indulgence, right? Or me inadvertently causing them to be assisting their indulgence.
Yes.
But she also does make a good point. We can be in a situation where somebody is and sharing, and they get into self-pity. And I'm just trying to understand, and I'm saying, yes, tell me more, tell me more. And the more they go, the more they get involved in the self-pity. At some point, that does then becoming an opportunity for them to engage in. Yeah. Maybe at such a point, then you say, well, in my understanding, if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're talking about self-pity here, yes? You ask it as a question. Right? I'm not saying you are doing it. I'm asking. It's what it sounds like. It's, oh, well, I didn't mean it to sound. They can backtrack if they're not honest. If they're honest, they'll say, well, yeah, you're right. I'm getting involved in self-pity. So it takes some capital diplomacy skill to deal with this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that I might need to add that a bit into the
okay.
I
personally
maybe as a
think,
PS, yeah.
yes, I personally think that because from the very beginning, the capital H hearing, whoever, of course, wants to practice, I read that from the very beginning. I really, really overly emphasize, I must say that it's all about you. It's not about the other person. So when we are doing something like this, and we are setting our intent very clearly that we are here to learn, and we are here to, of course, just provide them a space. The intent has really a magical power. First thing, you are aware of it. The clarity of intent is there, that it's all about that learning, and I want to learn, and I want to find that, and not going to just be judgmental about anything, just pure learning. That how, when the self-pity is coming, where the accusation for others is coming, the blaming others is coming, where the ego is coming, I just want to learn for myself. Of course it is going to project, because awareness is contagious again. So that is something I feel that, okay, when someone is practicing capital H hearing with the clarity of intent, it's very unlikely that it is going to be. Again, it is still a possibility that people get into this, and it happens with the emotions when we do a catharsis, when we really release a lot of things. It is going to surface so much. So the indulgence part can be there, uh, though I feel it is not going to be very often, but it's still the possibility is there. And when it is going to happen, me paying attention, and me as someone who is practicing capital H hearing, when I will ask earnest question about things, not with any judgment or to get anything out of it, just pure for the pure value and for the sake of pure learning, when I will ask a question, my question is going to set the next sharing. It happens
Yeah.
all the time. When you ask an earnest question,
Yeah.
it set the next sharing from them, because they cannot get away with the earnest question if they are indulging to this. When my question
Exactly.
is not for judgment. So it is the whole
Exactly.
practice of capital H hearing is actually a prevention of indulgence. It is completely different to
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
So the first thing is practicing the fullness of capital H hearing, not just picking something and start doing that. Okay, I can do that. Okay, it has to be the fullness of it. Everything needs to be. It's a very serious business. It's a very serious thing. So first thing, it has to be practice in totality, in entirety, not just pick and choose type of thing. Second, clarity of intent. And third is not questioning, but asking earnest question. That is the remedy of indulgence right there. Because earnest question always set the next sharing, set the mood, the, the intensity, and the way of sharing. This is what I have observed so far. Every question, every earnest question while doing the capital H hearing set the tone of the next sharing from other person.
Yes. Yes. That's
And
a
this is right
profound
there a
point, and I'm glad
prevention
you
of
repeated.
indulgence.
Yeah. That's a
Every
profound point you make, Beena.
yes, every earnest question sets the tone and the mood of next sharing from other person when you are
Correct.
practicing capital H
Correct.
hearing.
So it's a prevention right there.
I personally feel
Yep.
that it's very slim chances when you practice capital H hearing with fullness, with entirety, with totality.
Yep.
Very few, very slim chances.
The earnest question is part of capital H hearing.
Yes.
Because when you really hear, that question comes about automatically. It's not your curiosity. It's like a typical question. Yes, it's coming as a consequence of your capital H hearing. In other words, you're hearing them more. They won't specifically tell you, hey, I'm feeling pity for myself. Nobody says that. Sometimes I would say, oh, I'm feeling sorry for myself, yeah? But typically they don't spell it out. But you can hear it very clearly. So when you ask, for instance, am I correct when I hear that you are self-pity is the issue right now? Very earnestly, you ask this, right? Oh, yeah, I didn't realize. Oh, yeah, you're right. I got pulled into self-pity. You didn't ask this for any other ulterior motive except that it was prompted by your capital H hearing of hearing what's not being directly said. Right? Hearing implication, hearing consequence, hearing what's not said, etc. And that changes the whole picture. I do want to make a PS comment here in some way, Beena. I feel, right, that, something like, yes, capital H hearing is a huge thing. And, I was adding up the books the other day, remember, for the realism series. And I forgot all about capital H hearing. Yes, it's a program, but I can publish it as a book, or a series of books, probably. It's so huge. Yeah, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
We're going to make a PS there. What PS would we say here?
Okay, I personally feel that, okay, just to mention that when we are practicing capital H hearing with, in totality, then of course it is going to prevent the chances of indulgence right there. Second, the clarity of
Yeah.
intent, that why we are practicing capital H hearing and what is capital H hearing. And the third step is to prevent indulgence is to ask earnest question, because every earnest question is always set the tone and mood of the next sharing from the other person.
So, I'll have to come back and add it later. It's too long to, it will take too much time and focus and be distracting from our sharing here. I'll come back and finish that. You want to read another chapter?
I think it's already late. We started late, and this is a good point.
Okay. Okay. All right. Brilliant. We were going to watch the video as well, but it's okay. Yesterday's, because Beena didn't catch the live yesterday of the podcast episode.
Yes.
We were going to do that. All right,
Yes.
we'll end the live here then. Norma, I want to hear what Norma has to say about what Biella had to say here about indulging people by capital L listening to them. Or potentially. Oh, never mind that. I want to get back to that, what Biella said here. Right? To put us in a space where the obvious is understood to actually not be so obvious. How does this make sense? It makes sense in the context where the obvious is our shallow, non-discerning perception, where we think what's obvious is obvious, and it's actually not. When we can get past that, that's when discernment starts to begin. And yeah, I see. No, it's not actually so obvious. Then we start to discern. It's our usual perception, just, well, that's how it is, And we don't think further, we don't think in depth, we don't dig deeper. But when we start to dig deeper, suddenly the obvious becomes not so obvious. And that's very powerful. That's very, very, very well. Does that make sense, Beena, for that statement?
Yes.
You know this already. That's why it didn't really, it sort of clicked with you, but not consciously necessarily.
Yes.
Well, that's why I keep saying my job as a facilitator in Way-of-Impeccability in the Moreness-Project is to make the obvious obvious. But if you take it in this context here, you say, well, is that really to make the obvious not so obvious? Yes. But then we go further and we take that not so obvious and we think it through. And then we get to a new obvious. We get to a capital O obvious rather than a little o obvious. Right? You see that bigger, deeper. Oh, yeah, okay, I understand now. I understand how I misunderstood, for instance. Very, very helpful. Very, very powerful. Very, very magical. Powerful. Somebody was messaging me there. Oh, okay. I will get back to you. Yeah. Oh. All right. Wonderful. On that note, because I have things I need to discuss with somebody, very important person, and very important discussion. So, okay. All right. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we end it right here, yeah, Beena?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
so
now
we are
I'm
going
going to stay on Zoom, and I'm just going to end the live stream and end the recordings and all that.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Whoever was watching us live and will watch us recorded later on YouTube and also in the group. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe the channel, because by doing that, you are going to help not only that, of course, us, but also yourself and the future generation, because you are going to set the Moreness paradigm for them and for yourself. By doing so, you are going to train your algorithm to give you more and more stuff like this, not limited to only our channel and our sharing, but also more. And this is the greatest help you can do for, I think, for everyone. Now, this is the time to train your algorithm, because your social life, your online life is not anymore just the part of your life, it is your life. So please be really scrupulous about setting your it is your paradigm. So yes, that's why I said today, welcome to Moreness paradigm. And
yes.
Please, this is the paradigm you are creating, and you are being part of it. Thank you so much for being here.
Beena, just on that point of the Moreness paradigm, I'm starting to also simultaneously use the synonym, which is Moreness culture. Now, yes, culture can be more, by definition, it's narrower than a paradigm. You have cultures within a paradigm. But when we talk about the Moreness paradigm, I don't know what a paradigm is, but the Moreness culture, this they can understand. So I use it interchangeably, right? Just to add extra clarity.
More pertinent and relevant, yes. Yes.
Moreness culture and Moreness paradigm. I want to not fall into the trap of just saying, I guess right now it is a Moreness culture, but we are trying to take our Moreness culture, which is really a subculture right now, and make it into a culture. And from there, for it to become a paradigm. So it's all part of the project, right? We'll call it the Moreness culture, Moreness paradigm, interchangeably until such time. Wonderful. All right. So stay where you are. I'm going to end live stream.